It's this fear inside me, this crippling fear of the unknown. I thought I'd overcome this a long time ago, but it looks like it is really only getting started. It feels like the fear of existence, but could it be a fear of my own potential? Which version of me is real? The one before fear or the one after it? The process of creating something is about confronting your fears, by the virtue of which the creator transforms themselves. Michelangelo didn't just chisel out David. David also chiseled out Michelangelo. I want to create something that I care about, something that challenges me, and who knows, might even transform me. But every time I go about creating something, it gives me this chilling sensation in my stomach, this confrontation with the abyss every time I face a blank page. This fear is due to a lack of experience in most part. And I know I have to approach this from a learner's mindset. I gotta keep my ego aside and understand that the journey of mastery is humbling enough for all of us. But then again, almost every project evokes a sort of existential dread. I try to ignore it, raw dog it, pour alcohol on it, all to no avail. I remember I first felt this deep restlessness when I was very young. A nagging sense that things weren't quite right, that they were almost empty or lacking something. It felt like I was dancing around a black hole, hoping it was a wormhole instead, a portal, so to speak. As I've grown older, I've come to realize that this feeling is the unknown. And it's precisely where the most thrilling parts of life unfold. This, you could say, is my leap into that unknown. A part of me is conditioned to believe that we have to force our vision into existence. A part of me thinks that the universe is bigger than that. I feel like we've become so caught up in the rat race that we've totally ignored the role of randomness and uncertainty in nature. Given the current state of the world today, it's really easy to take nature for granted, oblivious to its mysteries and depth. And despite the bold claim of experts, we haven't fully grasped the complexities and mysteries of nature as much as we would like to believe. Life in all its evolutionary wisdom manages ecosystems of unfathomable beauty, ever evolving toward more wholeness, complexity, and consciousness. Creativity and problem solving happens everywhere and all the time in nature. And it happens in a self-organizing manner that comes from every cell and every organism without a central command and control. It's fascinating, almost paradoxical to even ask how nature had the right conditions for consciousness to emerge. The opposite of entropy, the idea that everything eventually leads to chaos and death, is emergence. The idea that better and more complex phenomenon occurs out of relatively simple interactions. I feel like we rarely are in the mood to do a task. We're always at war. Why the hell do we have moods anyway? From an evolutionary viewpoint, its role is to help us adapt and survive, to generate momentum in the mind. I am envious of those who can wake up at 5 a.m. and grind for 10 straight hours. I've often judged myself on how I'm not able to perform on such an elite level. But now I'm starting to think that motivation might not actually be a character trait, but a fluctuating psychological resource or psychological capital. Now, I'm the kind of person who's not designed to pay close attention to something for very long. I'm starting to think that this might not be a bug but a feature. Each and every state of mind we experience throughout our lives is kind of unique in context and in experience. And I think we can leverage that. Now, when it comes to being productive, emergence is the ability to structure our work in such a way that it can produce more value now while also producing more value a week from now or months or even years from now. Harnessing the momentum of our states of mind is to engage with emergence. And emergence is beyond what the sum of its parts could even imagine. Much like how individual cells don't know what they're going to end up becoming. They simply grow, divide, and become more complex. As they interact, they find their roles, becoming a lung cell or a tongue cell, and gain new functions. Growth and death, everything leading up to a higher state of being, nothing is wasted. Every moment has a role to play in evolution. This image that you're seeing is a Drapteris, and where I live in Sikkim, Drapteris is a part of our diet. But an interesting thing is, they're also an example of fractals in nature. Fractals are infinitely complex patterns that repeat endlessly at different scales. Fractals can be seen everywhere, from the tip of our fingertips to the shape of galaxies. They are infinitely complex patterns made out of a simple shape or a design that repeats over and over again on an ongoing feedback loop. The final pattern is said to have self-similarity, which simply means that the details look like smaller images of the whole. There is a certain magical quality to emergence. partly because we can't predict what is going to happen. Emergence cannot be manufactured. It comes from individual or collective intuition. It's an unconscious sensing driven more by emotion than by reason. And it rarely follows a logical, orderly path. Instead, it feels much more like a leap of faith. How we are at the smallest determines how we are at large. I have to use my life to leverage a shift in the system by who I am, as much as with the projects I take up. Every day should be lived on purpose. This means being really intentional about my life. And it means bringing my values into my daily decisions. There might be times during my creative process when I don't quite feel like it. Some days might be filled with lethargy or low-level anxiety. Some days it might be filled with grief, anger, or random bursts of joy. All of the emotions I feel is part of being human. And I think creativity is the ability to channel all of that into something greater.